This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, Gibbons, Adidas and Dalumie head for the trees for the very first time.
Really pleased. You can't get anything better than a gibbon in a tree.
Heavyweight Hananya puts a punch bag through its paces. And something's bothering Chimp Freddy. But will the teen get to the bottom of his problems?
Freddy just doesn't look entirely happy. He just looks a little bit concerned all of the time.
Monkey World's main aim is to provide a home to rescued apes and monkeys from around the globe. But some species are encouraged to have babies because they're part of international breeding programs. One of these is the woolly monkeys. And new mum, Paquita, is taking good care of her baby boy.
The baby's been with us for a month now, and Paquita is doing amazingly. She's a first-time mum, so it's always a bit up in the air whether she'd have all the skills to look after her baby, but she's doing fantastically. She's giving it just enough freedom to try new things, and hopefully that'll mean it develops into a very healthy, very confident little woolly monkey.
The park has had to hand-rear 2 baby woolly monkeys that were rejected by their mothers. So it's great to see this mother and baby bonding naturally. But the big question is, what's he going to be called?
We've named him Raoul because we think it's a nice, strong name, and judging by the size of his mum and his dad, he's going to be a very big woolly monkey.
Raoul has certainly been given a good start in life. But Mum Paquita has her own ideas on parenthood.
Paquita decided to do things her own way. She wasn't carrying the baby how woolly monkeys normally do. Normally they carry them straight down their chest so it's easy for them to feed. She decided she was going to carry it like a human would, between her 2 arms.
And Raoul seems to have inherited Paquita's rebellious side.
Raoul has decided he's much happier on her back or hanging horizontally on her side, which is kind of out of the ordinary, but it works for these guys. And everything, even though it's not quite normal, seems to be going very, very well indeed.
Raoul is just a few weeks old and is still suckling from Mum. But he's going to move on to solid food soon, and then life's going to get much harder for him.
The age that young woolly monkeys start eating solids does vary. Inca, our other youngest monkey, she didn't take food from the group's meals until she was about 3 months old. But woolly monkey mums are notoriously tough on their children. People imagine that they might hand them a bit of food or that kind of thing, but it really is what they can find and what they can fight to hold on to they're allowed to eat. And while it seems a bit harsh, it does make for tough babies who are nice and strong and able to stick up for themselves.
Just like humans, woolly monkeys have many different parenting styles. And while some are protective of their infants, Paquita's happy to have the family close by, especially 15-year-old male, Bronco.
Bronco and Paquita are very, very good friends. It's kind of a strange relationship because Lavar is the dominant male here. You'd expect him to be the most popular with all of the females. But Bronco seems to have excellent woolly monkey manners. And with Paquita, he's just been amazing. In the wild, the females wouldn't really let anyone interact with their baby for quite some time, but since about day 3, she's let Bronco sit next to her. He's even taken to cleaning the baby, which is kind of unheard of. It's brilliant for the group as a whole, getting to watch a baby being raised, and hopefully that will give them all better parenting skills for the future.
Later, Mueller, Gibbons, Adidas and Dalumie are up in the trees for the first time in their lives.
Adidas is in trees.
And it looks like Chimp Freddy's problems might be solved not by a vet, but a doctor.
You have to forgive us because we're not too familiar with the size and the shape of these animals.
Down at Hananya's chimp troop, and something new has got them all excited. Punch bags. The primate care staff are always coming up with interesting ways to keep the chimps busy.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a letter offering us some punch bags from a sporting goods company, and this gentleman had kindly sort of offered these because he thought that the chimps might actually get a kick out of doing just that, kicking them about. So we're just interested to see if the guys like them, how quickly they can destroy them, because I suspect that they will. And we'll put a couple up and see how we go, basically.
When there's anything new in the area, it's normal for the alpha male to hang back and let the females and youngsters investigate first. And that's exactly what boss Hananya's doing. They play on them, swing on them, prod them, cuddle them, pick at them, and even eat them. But none of their investigations seem to be leading anywhere. Until alpha male Hananya decides it's time for him to show the others exactly what to do. And that's to display on it.
You see the alpha males sort of puff up and they get their hair all stood on end, and basically they charge around the enclosure, making themselves look as big and as ominous and as powerful as possible.
And this is exactly what Hananya's using the punch bag for. In the wild, large male chimps use branches and tree roots to intimidate other chimps.
So alpha male chimps will run up to big buttress tree roots and use them almost like drums, and you'll see them sort of virtually run up the side of the tree, stomping with their hands and feet, and that noise actually echoes throughout the forest. So they really do make quite a display using the various objects that are both on the ground and higher up by taking branches and breaking them off and lashing them about. And that's the kind of thing we're hoping for here. So actually, an unnatural item in the end might help promote natural behavior, and that's what we're all about.
So now that Hananya's shown them how to do it, the other chimps start their own versions of Hananya's display. None of which give quite as much punch as the big alpha males. By the looks of it, they could be displaying like this all day. But later on, the Bachelor boys get their turn on the punch bags. And what will they make of them? For the moment, the Bachelor boys' enclosure is uncharacteristically calm. And 19-year-old Freddy is particularly quiet. He's been having some problems with his bowels.
Freddy just doesn't look entirely happy. Like, you have to know the individuals and so on, but if you look at Freddy, to me, he just looks a little bit concerned all of the time on his face.
A year ago, Freddy had a similar problem, and the team decided to investigate.
So we had a chap in from the local hospital who actually got an endoscope up inside of Freddy and actually had a look at the inside of his gut wall, and we found that, you know, like so many humans out there, Freddy's actually got some piles, some hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids, or piles, are swellings in the back passage, which can cause intense pain and itching. And Freddy's been on a range of treatments to soothe the problem, but a year on, and he's still no better.
And so I think it was time that we actually do something about it. So today we're taking the next step. And basically, Freddy's having his hemorrhoids clipped today.
Over at the Parks Hospital, the medical team have prepped Freddy for surgery. Vet John Lewis will be keeping Freddy sedated, but the operation will be carried out by hospital consultants Andrew Clark and Thomas Dudding. They're specialists in treating piles on humans and use cutting-edge technology. The team feel that this pioneering surgery may be the only way of solving Freddy's problem once and for all. But the consultants have never dealt with a chimp before.
The only thing, Alison, do we have stirrups to put the...
No.
OK, you have to forgive us because we're not too familiar with the size and the shape of these animals.
You don't want to mess with an adolescent chimpanzee, really. They're incredibly dangerous animals. Yeah, so...
Maybe go to sleep.
Yeah.
My word with the anaesthetist. God, it's amazing flexibility. And, you know, that's just phenomenal, isn't it? Phenomenal.
Make good dancers.
It's been 2 years since Freddy first had his bowels checked, and now the team can take another look to determine the extent of his discomfort.
And head down, please.
And straight away, they can tell that Freddy's piles have got a lot worse.
Now that we've gotten in here and actually seen what's going on and the experts are here to deal with Freddy's hemorrhoids, I'm really pleased that we've done this for him, because now that we can actually see what's happening in there, he's got several areas that have really quite severe hemorrhoids.
At Monkey World in Dorset, in the park's hospital, chimpanzee Freddy has been sedated by anaesthetic, ready for the operation on his hemorrhoids. Consultant Andrew Clark is a specialist from the local hospital and has never worked on a chimp before.
And are these very common procedures for people? I mean, how often do you do this procedure?
Oh, we'll do 2 or 3 of these a week as day case procedures in adults.
Piles in humans are normally caused by either constipation or pregnancy. But it's very unusual for a chimp to have them.
He's the first chimp I've seen with piles. I've never heard other people flag it up either, so it is unusual. They don't spend their lives constipated, quite the opposite. But it's a problem for him. And clearly that just needs dealing with.
A procedure this complex requires a special probe called a proctoscope, which uses sound waves to locate the blood supply to each of the hemorrhoids.
That's the Doppler signal.
Yeah.
He's got a slow pulse, so it's easy to miss, but that, I think, is... So, Tom...
Once the blood vessels are located, consultant Andrew Clark uses stitches to tie a knot in the precise place, so he can cut off the blood supply to each of the swellings.
If we reduce the blood supply to the tissue, it'll contract down. We're already starting to see evidence of that. Now it's not pouting out as much and it feels a lot firmer, so I'm just going to try and put one more in and hopefully that'll do the job.
As the proctoscope is designed for humans, one of the challenges facing Andrew is to make sure the stitches are high enough so that Freddy can't pick at them. Someone's got to do it, so it's left to vet John to check.
Now, I don't think there's anything that he can get hold of. There's no long threads, there's nothing, there's just bunched tissue.
You can reach, but there's no edge to put a finger.
There's no edge to hook on.
I think we cut his nails right down. Right down.
Yeah, so but sort his nails out first then.
He may suffer from some slight discomfort for a few days, but with a bit of luck, Freddy's problems will have been solved.
The end result I don't think we'll see here. Part of the process will be this contraction as the blood supply is being reduced. So I don't think this is the end result, although it does look a lot better even now, so fingers crossed.
Although Alison is pleased with the way the operation has gone, there are still some unanswered questions.
There's that one little doubt in my mind that why did he get hemorrhoids in the first place? But maybe that's just his personal deal in life like it is other people. But we know his diet's good and we know that everybody else on the current diet is good. So I think it's just a case of trying to get Freddy's physical problem sorted out and he should be fine thereafter. Really happy.
And with the operation finished, Jeremy gives Freddy's nails a quick manicure so he won't be able to undo all of Andrew's good work. Later, Keeper Wendy is over the moon as 4 years of hard work finally pays off.
It's what makes this job the best thing in the world.
While Freddy is recovering from his operation, the rest of the Bachelor boys get their turn to see what they make of the punch bags. The Chimps are keen to investigate. And this being an all-male group, those investigations are likely to be much more boisterous than over at Hananya's. Just to prove it, first on the scene and ready to show everyone that he's king of the castle is up-and-coming Paco. Unfortunately, he's not the king of this particular castle, as alpha male Butch points out. But there's always the other punch bag for Paco to take out his frustration on. So the two heavyweights have proved their point. But what about the others? It's not long before these boys do what they do best. Break things. They're boisterous, heavy-handed, and destructive. Except that is for old boy Charlie. He's far too busy to bother with punch bags. It is lunchtime after all. And while Charlie's happily finishing off his meal in peace, the boys have had enough of tearing the punch bag to pieces. That game's got boring. Which means it's time for Charlie to have a go. He's waited patiently, he's had his lunch, and now it's his turn to be king of the castle. All by himself. Down at the far end of the park in the Gibbon house, it's a big day for Mueller Gibbons, Adidas and Dalumie. As today they're going outside in their new custom-built enclosure for the very first time. Although they've been outside before, they've never climbed in trees. Dalumie is the first to take a few cautious steps outside.
Good girl.
And then goes back inside again.
Is it too much? That may have appeared to be a complete damp squib. However, yes, Dalumie came out, she looked around, contact call all the time, calling to her mate who was too scared. He was sitting inside going, yeah, I'm staying in here, thank you. She came out, had a look. Didn't look very impressed, to be honest with you, but she was very brave to do that. She's been let out to a new area. She has no idea who or what is living in there. If she's going to be attacked, what's going to happen? So she went back indoors again. It's cold and it's raining and she's a sensible girl. That's fine. Gently and slowly is always good.
8 years ago, gibbons, including Adidas and Dalumie, were confiscated by the Taiwanese authorities after they were stolen from the wild and smuggled into Taiwan illegally for the pet trade. Sadly, hundreds of gibbons are kept as pets in people's homes across Asia, where they're viewed as status symbols. But quite often, the relationship between the owner and the gibbon breaks down as they mature and become aggressive. Luckily for Adidas and Dalumie, Monkey World stepped in. And they were rehomed at the park, where they were given the chance to learn how to swing and communicate.
Stunning, absolutely stunning creatures.
Now the team has created this 2-acre enclosure, with trees that should enable the pair to behave as naturally as possible. And just when keeper Wendy and the team are about to give up...
And you do it when everybody else went away.
Adidas ventures out.
Doesn't like crowds for his premiere.
And heads straight for the trees.
Everybody goes away. We decide to just leave the skeleton crew. Adidas comes out. He's up in trees for the first time in his life. Dalumie's come and joined him outside, but she's not 100% convinced. Adidas is in trees. Oh, little man.
But the lure of the forest still isn't as tempting for Dalumie, who's gone inside again to check things out from the window.
You're letting the girls down, Dalumie. It is cold and wet. You know, Dalumie hasn't come out that far yet. He's gone back in, checked with her, gone back out again. Honestly, love, it's fun. Come on. She's in there going, no, it's cold and wet. I'll wait till the sun comes out later.
It's a new experience for Adidas, who hasn't climbed in trees since he was stolen from the wild and his mother. So if there are going to be any problems, it's most likely to be with his balance.
Good boy.
But he's a natural. For Wendy and the Gibbon team, this moment has been a long time coming.
Really pleased. You can't get anything better than a gibbon in a tree. A gibbon that's been in captivity, who's been abused, who's been hurt, who's been wounded, who's been damaged, to go out in a tree. A full, big tree. Adidas has done that for the first time today. It's what makes this job the best thing in the world.
Next time, it's a Monkey Life special in Vietnam. Monkey World's exciting new project is up and running. A rescue centre for golden-cheeked gibbons and langurs. We meet the centre's newest gibbon, Ellie. She needs a health check to make sure she's fit to return to the wild. And it's an exciting and tense time as the team attempt to rescue their first Duke langur monkeys.
We're just heading in now to see if we can either do this peacefully or perhaps not so peacefully. We'll see what happens.
This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today's programme is a Monkey Life special in Vietnam, where Monkey World's rescue centre for golden-cheeked gibbons and langurs is up and running. We meet the centre's newest gibbon, Ellie. She needs a health check to make sure she's fit to return to the wild. And it's an exciting and tense time as the team attempt to rescue their first Duke langur monkeys.
We're just heading in now to see if we can either do this peacefully or perhaps not so peacefully. We'll see what happens.
In the past 21 years, Monkey World has rescued and rehabilitated over 250 apes and monkeys from all corners of the globe. But their latest project means that many rescued primates can remain in their native country. 6,000 miles away, in Vietnam, Monkey World has built its first international sanctuary, and it's finally up and running.
After 9 years in the planning and an awful lot of hard work, welcome to Dao Tien. It's spectacular, and I just couldn't be any prouder.
Dao Tien Rescue Centre has been built on an island in Vietnam's largest and most diverse conservation zone, Cat Tien National Park. The centre's aim is to rescue golden-cheeked gibbons and langurs, rehabilitate them, and, where possible, release them back into the wild. These rare and beautiful primates are the target of illegal poaching and smuggling trades. Without this rescue centre, Vietnam's endangered species could face extinction. Monkey World keepers Marina and Wendy are running this new centre. And they have a mighty task in front of them.
At the moment, this is my passion, and I'm actually not missing anything else, because I know everyone else in England is being cared for. But here and now, these need your help, and I think I can help them.
It is a huge and sometimes quite daunting task, what we're doing here on the island. Yeah, you sit back at the end of the evening and go, really? Are we going to do it? But yes, we are. We've got to do it for the gibbons.
Later, Wendy takes hair samples for DNA analysis from the centre's newest gibbon, Ellie. The team must be certain that she can go back into the wild.
Very important. We need to make sure that we know she's the right sort of gibbon to be going out in this area of forest.
Today, Alison and Marina are hopefully going to rescue their first Duke langur monkeys. But all the centre's primates need to be looked after very differently to those at Monkey World.
We consider Monkey World more for the rehabilitation and care and retirement, if you will, of the individuals on site. Here on Dao Tien, it isn't about the individuals so much as it is getting rescued primates back out into the wild and ensuring that they're protected and safe in the wild setting and that illegal trade doesn't continue. And that's something that we haven't done before, so that's a little bit of scary new territory for us, but well worth it.
It's a nervous time for the team as they head out on their rescue mission. Marina, Alison and Cat Tien director Mr. Tan are en route to Ho Chi Minh City.
We're heading off to an amusement park called Soi Tien. We've had a report that there are 2 Duke langurs kept in the back in small cages, so this is a bit of a tip-off, and Mr. Tan has organized the Forestry Protection Department, the FPD, to meet us there and try and go inside and confiscate the Duke langurs. So we don't know if we'll be successful. We don't know if the people at Soi Tien are going to freak out at us, but you know, we definitely want to get hold of those Duke langurs if we can, because they're very sort of vulnerable in their current state.
In the wild, black-shanked Duke langurs are only found in Cambodia and Vietnam and are an endangered species. They have a specialist diet of unripe fruit and young leaves. But in captivity, they're often fed the wrong food, and in stressful situations, they can go into shock. Most don't survive.
We do know that they've had dukes before and they died, so it's really important we do go with the Forestry Protection Department, the police, and a special wildlife crime unit are also coming. So if we do manage to get them, they know that it's not a good idea to replace them.
Soi Tien theme park is unaware that the team are gathering outside their entrance. And as soon as the Forestry Protection Department arrive, they spring into action.
We're just heading in now to see if we can either do this peacefully or perhaps not so peacefully. We'll see what happens.
Soi Tien is a massive theme park and the owner is extremely rich and powerful. This is a sensitive situation that needs to be handled diplomatically. The team are quickly ushered into the management offices and no one knows what's going to happen next. The director of the park joins the team, and it's clear from the start that he's not happy.
Mr. Tan explained why we're here and how important it is that the dukes are very rare and endangered and need to go back into the forest because there's not many left, and that it's illegal to keep them. But the director of the park said that before he got them, before he bought them, he got permits from some government department. We're not sure which one. We're not sure whether it's legal or not, but he's very, very confident that he's well in his rights to keep dukes here.
If the park does indeed have the correct papers for the Duke langurs, Alison and the team may have to walk away and leave the monkeys where they are. Back at Cat Tien National Park, the wild gibbons are singing their morning chorus. And the rescue centre's gibbons call back. This is natural behaviour that gibbons use to announce their territory to other gibbon pairs. For Wendy, these early morning calls mean just one thing: breakfast. But unlike Monkey World, where the primate care staff have a close bond with their animals, here, if the gibbons are to stand any chance of surviving in the wild, Wendy must not get close to them.
So one of the most important things we do for these gibbons here, to prepare them coming out, is to not associate us with food. Of course, we have to feed them. It's my job to put food in their food bowls for them. But if we do it quickly, quietly, without actually acknowledging them, all in, it's not a big fuss. They're not looking at me, I'm not looking at them. They're ignoring me. I'm nothing. Keep away from me. I'm boring, I'm dull, I'm uninteresting. Anybody will tell you that.
Before being rescued, these gibbons were either pets or were being used in the tourist industry, so they were dependent on humans. At Dao Tien, this behaviour has to be reversed.
These gibbons have got to survive in the wild. These animals have to deal with forests which aren't empty. They have to deal with people going into the forests. The most important thing that these animals need to do is stay away from people. And if they're used to us and they associate us with food, that's not going to happen. It has to be done. It's not a matter of wanting to, liking it or not. You have to keep separate from these animals. It's my opportunity to help these animals survive in the wild, and that's what we do. That's our goal here on Dao Tien. We don't want them in cages, we want them in a forest. And if I can help them do that, that's a pretty good deal, I reckon.
Back at Soi Tien theme park, the team are still in a heated debate. They've reached deadlock. The park doesn't want to hand over the Duke langurs, and it looks like the team may have to leave empty-handed, when Alison decides to try a different approach.
So I apologize if we have caught him off guard, but I would like to invite him to join us in conserving the primates and have a very good professional face for Soi Tien. This is not to make a bad story, this is to make a very positive story.
Mr. Tan just gave a very, very powerful, persuasive speech explaining how important it is, and the directors just turned around and actually said, we actually would like to support and maybe collaborate and work together for the conservation of these rare species. Yeah. And his face is a little bit happier now.
Luckily, Alison's tactics work. The director has agreed to hand the monkeys over. It's a massive achievement, and even better, he wants to work with Dao Tien in the future.
We are allowed to go back, collect the langurs, package them up, get them back to Dao Tien, and then we can start assessing them and looking at them.
To everyone's surprise, the Duke langurs are already waiting outside the office. And it looks like they're becoming agitated.
They're very scared, and quite frankly, it makes me nervous because Duke langurs are very sensitive monkeys, so really we just need to get this chaos done and over with quickly.
But suddenly, disaster strikes. One of the monkeys escapes.
Marina, he's up in the car.
It runs straight underneath the car.
Aaron, where's the net? Okay, I can grab the tail.
But Alison and team member Aiju are able to get hold of it.
I can release his hands, maybe? It's okay, little man. There he goes. This cage.
And put it safely into one of Dao Tien's secure cages.
Aiju got hold of his tail, and I managed to climb underneath and get his hands done. But the gap he fit through in the cage was this big, very tiny, but at least we've got them secure now. Never a dull moment.
With both monkeys safe and secure, Alison and Marina can get a good look at them.
I think this one's a little boy, and I think that that one over there might be an older lady. So we might have a pair already, but we'll wait and see.
She's got a few sores on her fingers and missing lots of fingers, but she's actually been quite steady. But in time will tell, they go into shock and they just give up. So, yeah, let's get her home quickly.
In Vietnam, the Monkey World team have arrived at Dao Tien Island with the centre's first Duke langurs. These monkeys are very delicate. They require a specialist diet and they can easily go into shock, so everyone wants to move quickly to get them settled into their new home.
Ready? Yep. I think she will move quick. Very good. Well done, guys.
With the Dukes safely in their enclosure, the team can see their true condition. And it's not good news.
The female, now that we've got her out of her box, her legs are really quite weedy and like toothpicks, and she's actually very unsteady on them. She's also got breaks in her tail. Little boy looks quite precocious and very happy and content. I'm far more concerned about the female. I think she's had a rougher go of it than him, so we'll have to keep an eye on her and try and get her fed up, but hopefully just moving around and using those legs will make her come right.
After being separated for the journey, the pair are happy to be back together, and the female grooms the young male. This is to reinforce their bond, but their closeness could also mean that they're related.
I can't imagine two strangers would ever be so lovely together as that. He's so relaxed with her, and as soon as he saw her, he gave her a small hug and then said, groom this, groom that. So he's used to being with someone else, and that individual's most likely been his mum, so we can do quick DNA from hair samples and just confirm whether she is mum.
It's great to see the Dukes settling in so well, but the biggest test is yet to come. Are they eating properly? And later, when the team do test the Duke's diet, there's cause for concern.
She must start eating leaves, otherwise her stomach and her guts are gonna go terribly wrong and we could lose her.
At the other side of the centre, Wendy and vet Aaron are preparing to do a health check on the newest gibbon, Ellie.
Ellie's full of beans. She's on the go all the time. She's an inquisitive, very happy little gibbon. You can't really ask for very much more at this stage.
Ellie was rescued from the pet trade, and just like every new arrival at the centre, she's subjected to a full health check to make sure she isn't carrying any harmful diseases that could be passed on to Cat Tien's wild gibbon population. Ellie needs to be sedated for the checkup, and the least stressful way to do this is a hand injection. Ellie was a pet for 6 years, so she's used to human company. And even though vet Aaron has never met her before, his patience pays off. And the injection goes without a hitch. The anaesthetic begins to work immediately. With Ellie out for the count, Aaron can begin his health check. And Wendy collects crucial hair samples.
I'm just taking a few hair samples so we can get the correct DNA on her to find out her true subspecies. Very important. We need to make sure that we know that she's the right sort of gibbon to be going out in this area of forest. Right.
Wendy also measures Ellie's neck.
Yeah. So I'll just take a quick neck measurement before you do.
Each gibbon that's released back into the wild is going to be fitted with a GPS collar that will track their movements.
It's important for us to know what they're doing once we release them. We need to be able to make sure we know where they're going, where they are, where they've been. Are they still moving? And eventually that collar will actually then drop off. But we've got very, very valid information, vital data.
Ellie's examination is almost complete, and physically she looks in good condition.
She's fine, yes.
From Aaron's examination and what he showed me today, there's no reason why that little girl shouldn't start to become a normal gibbon. There's nothing at the moment, as far as we can make out, until we get the blood results back, to prevent her going off. But that's the all-important thing, is those blood results have to come back to us clear. And then she's got the all-go.
Ellie's given a reversal to bring her around from the sedation, and she's up as quickly as she went down.
Ellie, open your eyes before you start to climb. Really helps.
If Ellie gets the all clear, she can go on to find a mate and eventually return to the wild.
Hello.
Back with the Duke langurs, Alison is concerned that the female's diet has affected her health, so she's observing what kinds of food the Duke langur chooses. They're given a mixture of leaves that they should be eating and fruits that they shouldn't, to see which they prefer.
it's very clear that her diet hasn't been correct, because all of the leafy things that she should be interested in eating chucked out onto the, straight out onto the ground and straight in for the fruits. So we're gonna have to work on this one, because we cannot continue to let her eat just fruit. She must start eating leaves, otherwise her stomach and her guts are gonna go terribly wrong and we could lose her.
If these monkeys are to stand any chance of survival back in the wild, they must eat the correct diet. So Marina and her keepers head deep into the jungle to collect the right range of foods to see if there's anything the monkeys recognise or want.
Luckily, in our team on Dao Tien, we've got Wai, and his knowledge of the forest is superb. Until about 10 years ago, he spent most of his life and childhood in the forest, and he knows all the trees. He's been telling me every day for the last 6 months that the monkeys eat this, the langurs eat this, the gibbons eat this. And also we have Mr. Tang, who also is a very, very good forest man. And they're both very good at climbing trees, which is cool.
Marina has extensive knowledge of gibbons as she studied Cat Tien's wild population for 4 years. During this time, she also had encounters with wild Duke langurs and observed their eating habits.
Because the thing is, the dukes don't only just eat leaves, they eat flower, they'd eat some figs, but they'd also eat all the mosses off the tree trunks. So for us to get healthy dukes, we really do need to spend most of our time in the forest collecting all sorts of things. And from what we've seen already, they're very picky. They eat a couple of leaves and that's enough of that species. They would like another species. So we need to be offering 5-10 species per day, really, to keep them eating enough wild leaf that will sustain them and keep them healthy.
Everything that Marina and her team do is to help teach the primates what they'll need to survive in the wild. And back with the dukes, Wai has arrived with his freshly picked leaves. And he's hit the jackpot.
It's just amazing. Can you even believe it? She just saw the leaves coming and came, get out of the way, let me have them. And she knew instantly, so it just goes to show a couple of things. You give them the right tools, they know what to do with it, and I don't think that these guys have been out of the forest for that long. Not only have we got some food now that they're keen to eat and that I'm happy is the right food for them to be eating, but also the companionship. So we're ticking all of the boxes rapid now. They're together, they're grooming, they're happy, and now they're squabbling over the food, but in a very nice, lovely sort of way. So they're encouraging each other. It's a big step, a really big step. Keeping Duke langurs is not easy, and we've just hopefully turned the corner. And I think we're just going to move forward now. It's really good news.
Dao Tien Rescue Centre is proving to be a huge success. But this is just the beginning of the journey for these rare and beautiful primates. Soon, they'll be back where they belong, in the wild.
And that's the ultimate goal, is to take rescued individuals, turn the whole story around, turn it back into a positive thing, and help repopulate the wild to prevent the extinction.
Even though it's very scary, there's so many different things to consider, it's really exciting.
Next time, back at Monkey World in Dorset, geriatric stump-tailed macaque Coco is getting too old to groom herself, so the primate care staff help out.
We just give her coat a quick brush just to get any mucky bits out.
Chimp Jester gets more than his fair share of the Bachelor boys' walnuts. And have the team been able to stop the skin infection outbreak in Hananya's chimp house?
Anything that's spreading throughout the group is always cause for major concern for us.
This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, geriatric stump-tailed macaque Coco is getting too old to groom herself.
We just give her coat a quick brush just to get any mucky bits out.
Whereas Jonathan has nothing left to groom.
He doesn't have a lot of hair left. Others started over-grooming him and pulling his hair out.
Chimp Jester gets more than his fair share of the Bachelor boys' walnuts. And the team find out if they've stopped a skin infection outbreak in Hananya's chimp house.
Anything that's spreading throughout the group is always cause for major concern for us.
Monkey World Ape Rescue Centre is home to 11 ex-laboratory stump-tailed macaques. They're affectionately known as the ugly monkeys. 22-year-old Coco and 21-year-old Jonathan have been enjoying life at the park for a few years now, and they're beginning to feel their age. Coco has difficulties cleaning her skin and grooming herself, whereas Jonathan, on the other hand, is going bald through over-grooming. So it's up to the primate care staff to keep the pair in tip-top condition. And first up this morning is Jonathan. His baldness makes him sensitive to the sun, which means that he needs a special skin treatment.
Every morning we have to get him up and spray him with some sun cream, just like you would with a person. We'll try and get sort of the top of his back because that would be, you know, the part that's sort of exposed to the sun as well. But he's very good. He's sort of used to the routine now because he gets it done every morning.
Jonathan's hair loss is thanks to over-enthusiastic grooming from the high-ranking members of the troop, who just won't leave him alone.
Others started sort of over-grooming him and just sort of pulling his hair out rather than grooming sort of gently, but because he's low-ranking, he wouldn't sort of want to turn around to them and be aggressive and sort of say, no, that hurts. So he doesn't have a lot of hair left.
Jonathan's been having his daily treatment for 4 years, and it's proved to be a success. The lotion has stopped him from burning, and the team have the perfect way of persuading him to cooperate.
We give him a banana as a reward, so he gets clicked and treated, so he knows once the sun cream goes on, if he gets clicked for that, then that's the correct behaviour that we want, and then he'll get the reward of a banana, which is one of their absolute favourites, so it's quite a pleasant experience for him as well.
With his sunscreen on, Jonathan joins the others, safe in the sunshine, to search out his breakfast. But the Geriatric's pampering session doesn't end here. Next door, Coco is eagerly awaiting her wash and brush up too. Later, Coco takes a laid-back approach to her makeover grooming session.
We just wipe her over with an antibacterial skin cleanser, and then we rub some baby nappy rash cream into her.
Chimp Ben's infected foot is on the mend.
The infection has really gone, so it's just a case of the new skin and tissue growing back.
But are the rest of the group out of danger? At the Chimp Bachelor boy enclosure, everybody's out in force because it's treat time. And today, they're getting walnuts. Paco decides to throw his weight around as a reminder to the group that he and the other high rankers should get the first pickings. But while he's making a big display of himself, Jester moves in and tries to grab all the food. Chimps are naturally greedy, and they don't come much greedier than Jester. Whatever's on offer, he usually manages to get more than his fair share. And it's the same today. Usually, the chimps munch through exciting, whole, juicy melons and giant fruity freezes as treats between meals. but they're just as enthusiastic about these tiny little walnuts. And despite the nut's tough outer shell, chimps have a much larger muscular jaw than a human, so they make light work of cracking them open with their teeth. As usual, it's the low rankers who have to wait until last to get their hands on the treats. In this case, Seamus and old boy Charlie. Seamus is still wary of the big guys at mealtimes and doesn't risk joining in. Whereas Charlie is just Charlie. He's not the sharpest tool in the box. And when begging doesn't work, he just hangs back. Then the inevitable happens. With just a few nuts left, the boys start to squabble over them. Which means that Charlie can simply step in and grab one at last. Unfortunately, Charlie's only got 3 teeth. So even though he's waited patiently to get his hands on the nuts, it's going to be a little while longer before he gets to enjoy his treat. Down at Hananya's chimp house, primate care supervisor Cara is keeping a close eye on 7-year-old Ben. Recently, Ben had a very nasty infection, which sadly resulted in him losing a toe.
Come on, Benny boy.
But now, a week later, things are starting to look better.
Really now the infection has really gone, so it's just a case of the new skin and tissue growing back. But I think it will be several weeks before the foot actually looks in any way normal. You can still see a lot of the red tissue where it's healing, but we're definitely out of the danger period, and we're happy with his progress.
You all right with that?
When Ben's infection was first spotted, the team had to work quickly to find the correct antibiotics to treat him. But while the team were waiting for the test results from the lab, the bacteria spread. Other members of the troop started to show signs of similar skin infections. While most of the infections caused extremely nasty-looking sores, 11-year-old Honey had a severe reaction to the bacteria. Her tongue swelled so much that she couldn't eat or drink, and Honey could have died from dehydration. The team had to act fast. They gave her fluids and treated her with strong antibiotics and anti-inflammatories to reduce the swelling.
A tiny bit, maybe.
And now, she too seems to be on the mend.
Honey is looking much better now, so I'm really happy about that. She can close her mouth again, she can drink, she can eat.
Good, Honey.
You're such a good girl.
You are a good girl.
When Honey opens her mouth, you can still see some pussy bits on there, actually. The infection hasn't gone down completely yet. I mean, there's still some of it to be resolved, but she's still on antibiotics, and it will probably disappear within a few days, I think.
All the chimps have now been treated, but it leaves some serious questions as to why some of Hananya's troop fell ill in the first place.
This situation that we've just had in Hananya's house for the past couple of weeks is extremely unique. It was effectively the perfect storm scenario. We've got an introduction of 2 new arrivals from the nursery group. The whole group has been split in sort of half, and there's stress and introductions going on. Everybody's emotions have been up and down, and lo and behold, the individuals that are quite low ranking, at the bottom of the heap, therefore subjected to the most stress in their life, start picking up these infections that normally their bodies should just be able to deal with. So it seems like a huge nightmare, panic, oh my gosh, what's happening in Hananya's house? But really, if you step back and look at it, what you see is actually 2 or 3 individuals who are suffering from skin infections, basically, due to normal, run-of-the-mill bacteria that you and I encounter on a daily basis.
It's been a worrying time, and the team have taken the bacterial breakout very seriously, as it could have easily been a lot worse.
Anything that's spreading throughout the group is always cause for major concern for us, to make sure we get it under control and keep it isolated, because we have pregnant individuals out there, we have babies out there, and they're very susceptible. So it was a big concern what was happening in Hananya's house, but I think now, touch a lot of wood, we've got everything under control. Everybody's on the appropriate antibiotics, and everybody's wounds are healing up nicely now.
At Monkey World in Dorset, the keepers have to tend to the needs of everyone, from newborns to OAPs.
What's all that about?
Today, it's the geriatric stump-tailed macaques who are getting an MOT. Old age is getting the better of 22-year-old Coco, and she struggles to clean herself.
Hi, Coco.
So the staff are on hand to help, with a regular bath and brush up to get her back to her best.
Basically, we just wipe her over with an antibacterial sort of skin cleanser. Then we dry her off, make sure she's thoroughly dry, give her coat a quick brush just to get any sort of dry skin or mucky bits out. And then we rub some sort of baby nappy rash cream into her, and particularly onto any sores on her skin, just to help them heal up and keep her skin nice and soft for her.
These regular washes might seem like luxury, but they're really an important way of preventing Coco from picking up skin infections.
She seems to quite enjoy it. She's getting quite good. She sort of gets herself into position, sort of ready for you to pick her up. She has a little squeal when you pick her up, but once she's sort of in position and lying down, she's generally quite happy and contented. And she knows that when we're finished, she always gets a nice reward, whether it's grapes or bananas, something sort of that she doesn't usually get as a treat for sort of being well behaved.
Coco arrived at the park 2 years ago after being rescued from a pet shop in Budapest, where she lived in the same cage for 20 years. Once she arrived at the park, the first challenge was to change her diet, as she was extremely overweight.
Coco has been on quite a strict diet since she arrived here. She has successfully lost quite a lot of weight, so really pleased with her. Obviously, this has a big impact on her, the way that she moves around the enclosure, and also how she interacts with the other monkeys that are in here as well. She generally just seems a lot more happier. It means that she can come outside, explore her enclosure a lot more, and do more of what she wants to do and what you'd see her doing in the wild, really.
Right from the start, Coco formed a strong bond with animal director Jeremy. So he was able to gain her trust and start treating a skin disorder caused by years of neglect.
As sure as I can be that she actually likes the sensation of being groomed and brushed and washed, just by the fact that she is so cooperative. In fact, very often she'll go to sleep in like bliss as I'm brushing her hair. And
primates normally groom themselves and others regularly to keep their coats in a good condition. But Coco struggles to look after herself, so the staff are on hand to comb her coat for her.
Basically, because she sort of sits around quite a lot, we found that her fur gets quite wet. And it's just really important that because the other boys in the group don't tend to groom her very often, we just like to give it a quick brush to get any mats out, any dirt that might be in there. Obviously, it's really important that her coat does stay in a good condition. Otherwise, it become matted. She gets sort of flies in it and things like that. Just generally not very nice. So it's nice to keep it nicely brushed, nicely clean, so that she just remains really healthy, really.
You ready?
With a new hairdo and her morning beauty regime complete, it's just left to Toby to treat her to some juicy grapes. Later, there's some sad news about one of the park's best-loved residents, Capuchin Tom.
A lot of the times you think it's just the bigger guys that we get so emotionally attached to, but it's not. Every individual here matters just as much.
Over at Paddy's chimp troop, it's their turn to get all excited about walnuts. And as always, it's the high-ranking chimps who are first to tuck in. At the bottom of the pecking order in this troop is little Eddie. Life has changed a lot for Eddie recently, and not necessarily for the better. Try as she might, she's finding it increasingly difficult to get what she thinks is her fair share of anything. As a baby, she enjoyed a high status within the troop and made the most of her position, getting everything she wanted when she wanted. And if she didn't get her own way, she'd have a temper tantrum, which generally worked. But now that she's 7 years old, she's not a baby anymore. And what's even more annoying is that her baby brother Bart is now higher up the pecking order than her. And he's got a walnut, even if he doesn't know what to do with it. But Eddie is nothing if not determined. If she keeps on trying, she's bound to get one eventually. And finally, she does. This little princess may have lost her crown for now, but she's a resilient little chimp, and it's all just part of growing up. It's been a difficult day at the Capuchin Lodge, as there's been some sad news about one of the park's most lovable residents, Tom.
Yeah, one of the biggest characters here at the park sadly has passed away, and it was really unexpected. We didn't see it coming.
Although Tom was fairly old, he had been relatively healthy.
Within the last sort of 12 to 24 hours, all he had was a little bit of a runny nose, and then all of a sudden he lays down and isn't responsive. So immediately took a blood sample, rushed it off, and it came back that his kidneys weren't functioning, like at all. That meant that his kidneys weren't filtering out all of the toxins from his bloodstream, which is what your kidneys normally do. You know, I suppose, luckily for Tom, in this case, it sort of, you know, happened in a short period of time, and he just lapsed into a coma and went. So it was a peaceful end, albeit unexpected and very hard for all of us here.
Tom lived at the park for 7 years, but nobody was quite sure how old he was, as his background was a bit mysterious.
Tom came in with his mate Jerry, and they were actually taken from a gypsy camp. And at that point in time, we didn't know anything about their background other than a bit of rumor and innuendo. And I was told that Tom and Jerry lived on a diet of burgers and Coke.
At the park, Tom settled in well and quickly became the boss of the other rescued Capuchin monkeys.
He took on all of these old boys, you know, Peppy, and spent time letting Peppy groom him and grooming Peppy and sort of looking after TJ, and he was always really lovely. And of course, Terry was besotted by him and used to hover around him like a butterfly, you know, flashing her eyelashes at him.
Life changed for Tom when the park rescued the 88 Capuchins from Chile. The team were concerned that he might have a battle for top spot.
When those guys came in and we separated Tom and put him in with the rest of the Capuchins, he didn't want to be boss. He wanted to put his feet up and have a retirement. And he handed the reins over to Gorillon, the new dominant male in the Capuchins, and Tom never looked back. He just started playing, grooming, and his favorite activity, eating.
There's no denying it. Tom will be remembered for his love of food. But his heart was just as big as his appetite.
Hello, Tom. Are you gonna come all the way down, or are you gonna stay there? Oh.
Tom Tom was one of the biggest characters here at the park, and that's because of both his stature and his heart. I mean, he was just loved people, and he loved seeing us every day. And when you walk past, you get all of the, you know, he would get so excited, he'd just grab himself and sort of tilt from side to side. And, you know, Tom had it pretty good, actually. He was a gentle leader, and he looked after everybody, and he loved all of his keepers here at the park and all of us who, you know, were sort of putting our all into making his life a good one.
It's been a busy year for the Capuchin team, with many new arrivals to look after. But the loss of Tom is upsetting for all those who knew him and cared for him.
A lot of the times you think it's just, you know, the bigger guys, the apes or something, that we get so emotionally attached to, but it's not. Every individual here matters just as much, and Tom was a big character to lose, and we'll miss him a lot.
Next time, orangutan youngster Kai gives Amy the runaround. There's a surprise delivery for the woolly monkeys. But is history going to repeat itself for the new mum?
I just don't know what it is with Kuna at this point. I'm really disappointed.
And the nursery chimps have a ball with a colourful play session. This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, disturbing footage reveals the park's next rescue mission.
I've just been sent a link today of this film clip. What's clearly the chimp attacking a man in the streets.
The nursery chimps have a ball with a colourful play session. And there's a surprise delivery for the woolly monkeys. But is history going to repeat itself for new mum Kuna?
I just don't know what it is with Kuna at this point. I'm really disappointed.
This morning, the chimp nursery pond has been filled with toy balls for the youngsters to play with. But a pond full of brightly coloured plastic balls instead of water is a little bit scary. So toddlers, Rodders and Ash decide that the safest thing to do is climb up high as far away from the terrifying balls as possible. And they're not the only ones who are keeping safe. It takes 20-year-old Sally to work it out. She's been at the park long enough to know that these balls are bound to be tasty treats. Well, they're not that tasty, but if they keep trying, there's sure to be a good one in here somewhere. Rodders and Lulu follow Sally's lead, and they decide that the red ones are most likely to be the tastiest. But Brian's not convinced. It's in a chimp's nature to be curious, and Ash seems to be investigating the possibilities for play. But will any of the chimps be brave enough to actually enter the scary play pit? Coming up, the baby chimps show that they do actually have the balls. And we catch up with one of the park's most well-loved characters, Charlie. Monkey World is home to over 55 rescued chimpanzees, and it's always ready to save more. Over in the office, Alison is watching some disturbing footage from Mexico. Alison believes it's an adult female chimpanzee called Coco. Monkey World has been trying to rescue her for 5 years now.
I've just been sent a link today from one of my primate care staff of this film clip. What's clearly Coco. Coco the chimp attacking a man in the streets.
Coco is one of many chimps around the world being used for the tourist industry. They're forced to work as photographers' props and have been known to suffer cruelly at the hands of their owners. 2 years ago, Alison and her late husband Jim went to Mexico to rescue Coco and another chimp called Brian. They successfully brought Brian back to Monkey World, but Coco wasn't so lucky. Jim and Alison spent days trying to track her down in Mexico, searching tourist areas where she was likely to be working.
We've been going through the shopping centers, the beaches, in the midday sun, doing exactly what Coco does, and I can tell you right now, it's hard, hot work, but finally, at the end of today, we had a tip-off.
Despite tip-offs, Coco was nowhere to be found, and Alison was very concerned. At over 20 years old, Coco may have suffered for years, and there's no telling how this may have affected her.
For Coco, it's all very dangerous and on a knife edge. The trainer, owner, photographer isn't controlling her. He's getting bloody noses. She's attacking people in the street and then being given ice cream. It's a disaster waiting to happen, and we need to try and stop that disaster before it happens to Coco.
It's actually very difficult to confiscate a chimpanzee in trouble unless there's proof that they were smuggled from the wild or are being worked. Now this new video has come to light, Alison finally has the evidence she needs to take action.
For us, it means we really need to step things up. We need to get back to the Mexican authorities now, make sure they're ready to go, and Monkey World will be straight across there with relevant boxes and veterinarians to sort Coco out ASAP.
Hopefully, Coco will soon be en route to Monkey World, where she can enjoy a happy and healthy retirement. Coco's new home will be in the chimp nursery. It's usually home to the babies, but it's also the place where newly rescued and vulnerable adult chimps have lived and learned to become chimps again. And it'll be up to this gang to ensure Coco has a gentle introduction to chimp life and lots of fun. Today, it looks like the youngsters have overcome their fear of the pond full of the plastic toys, and they're having a ball. Playtime is just as vital for young chimps as it is for human kids. And for Brian, an important part of playtime is making a mess. It's good to see him relaxed and enjoying life. When he first arrived, he had a hard time settling in. But not anymore. Chimps have bundles of energy, and both Rodders and Ash need no excuses to show off their playful side. They're all having such a great time that even Lulu's decided to join in the fun. But Sally still thinks she knows better. There's bound to be some food in here somewhere. Isn't there? And just in case she's right, Brian's in position to scrounge some off her. But there are 3,000 balls in the pond, and none of them seem to taste any better than the last, or have anything inside. So Sally's trying a different strategy. If the balls themselves aren't a tasty treat, surely there's got to be something delicious hiding underneath them. Over with the Bachelor boys, it's also playtime. And it doesn't matter how big and boisterous they are, they still love messing around. Two of the boys, Charlie and Freddy, usually keep themselves to themselves, but today they're happy to join in the fun and games. And Freddy's particularly keen to let his hair down now that he's recovered from a rather personal problem. A week ago, Freddy had an operation to treat his hemorrhoids, and so far, so good.
He's actually done really well. He hasn't been playing with it or fiddling. He doesn't seem to have had any discomfort, and we haven't seen any more blood. So fingers crossed that's done the trick.
Freddy had cutting-edge surgery, which located the blood supply to each of the swellings in his bottom. This blood supply was then cut off to make Freddy feel a lot more comfortable. Freddy definitely looks more perky. But as it's early days, the keepers still need to check up on him.
Really is now just a case of keeping an eye on Fred, checking every day, making sure that the stitches are holding, we're not seeing any blood, also that he's not straining too much when he's trying to pass feces, anything like that. But as of yet, we haven't had any problems, so we're fairly hopeful.
And Freddy has a good ally in Spanish Charlie, who himself has had a catalogue of challenges. He's one of the park's most lovable characters. When he was rescued, the abuse he had suffered was one of the worst the park had ever seen. He was a drug addict with cataracts, a broken jaw, and only a few teeth left. His physical and psychological scars made it difficult to find him the perfect group to live with. His displays at passing tanks from the nearby army barracks would upset one group. He was ousted from another. And then he moved into the nursery, but eventually became too boisterous for the youngsters. But it's the Bachelor group where Charlie seems happiest. He's lived here for 6 years now, and although he's never really been the most sociable character, every now and then he feels secure enough to join in with the antics of the other chimps. And it looks as though today's the day for him and Freddy to let it all hang out. Despite all of the traumas Freddy and Charlie have been through, they seem to have found a haven in the Bachelor group, and hopefully they'll be living there for many years to come. It's early morning at Monkey World. And down at the orangutan enclosure, the youngest and liveliest orang in the park, Kai, is happily playing by himself. But he's just been joined by one of the older and least lively orangs in the park, 25-year-old Amy. A few weeks ago, Amy gave birth, but her infant didn't survive. Like humans, orangs can suffer from postnatal depression, and since the birth, Amy's been keeping herself to herself. Until now. The only problem is, Kai's quite independent now, and he wants to do things on his own. But Amy doesn't want to stop his games, she just wants to play. This is quite a surprise because orangs are not renowned for being overly active, especially Amy. But today, she's definitely in the mood for some fun. Unfortunately, Kai's already having fun without her, and he wants to keep it that way. It's a good sign to see Amy interested in playing with the youngster, because despite her difficult mothering experiences in the past, it may mean that she'll be a more successful mum than next time. The question is, will Kai relent and let Amy join in with his game? The answer is no. Kai's off to find something else to do, and Amy's left wondering where she went wrong. Next door in the woolly monkey enclosure, park director Alison is checking up on another independent youngster. 2-year-old Julio.
Julio's is no longer a little boy. I mean, in every way, shape, and form, his, sort of size, he's growing up. He's getting a really big, thick tail, and his head's starting to broaden. And behaviorally, the other day, I've come up this high because the other day, he wouldn't even come down to see me. He was in the tops of the trees, and really lovely to see, sort of moving through the trees like you see in the wild, sort of holding on with his tail and legs to one side and then leaning across and grabbing the branches and walking through the tops of the trees like a spider. So it was really lovely to see, because even the other adults that we have here in this group, Lavar and Bronco, they don't even do it so well. So Julio's really sort of fallen into his own in terms of moving around the enclosure. Still very interested in people, but at the same time, he's a really happy, functioning member of the group, and now just flying through the tops of the trees. So we're really pleased for him. He's come on leaps and bounds.
Alison cared for him when he was rejected by his mother, Kuna.
He wasn't caring for the baby, so I think it's going to be our job now.
Julio's been living with his woolly family for over a year now. He was pretty confident moving around the bedroom, but when he first went outside, he was very nervous. In the wild, babies get guidance on how to climb and move around by learning from their mothers. So, being hand-reared, Julio had a little bit more work to do. But now he's learnt for himself, this confident little woolly monkey takes it all in his stride.
It only goes to show, if you can rear them properly and get them back into their own society, a woolly monkey society, at a young enough age, all of the physical behavior and sort of adaptation to living with woolly monkeys, it's all innate, it's all in there. You just have to get them back into the group at a young enough age. So, proud of my little boy. It's going well, really pleased.
A year after Julio was born, his mum Kuna gave birth again to Paolo. He was also rejected and hand-reared by the keepers, but now at 9 months old, he lives with his woolly family full-time and is flourishing too. And later, the boys have a new baby brother, but it seems Kuna's mothering skills have not improved.
This baby was born more than 24 hours ago, and we don't believe that he's actually suckled at all.
Like the chimp nursery, today's treats in Hananya's group are pond-related. But they're not getting coloured plastic balls, they're getting fruits and seeds in the water. The fruit floating on the top shouldn't pose too much of a problem for the chimps, but the seeds have sunk to the bottom, which means there's only one thing for it. Peggy needs to get wet. In the wild, chimps are naturally wary of water and they can't swim, but they will attempt to cross water if there's food at stake. And here at Monkey World, it's no different, so Peggy is definitely a rarity. A chimp that seems to like the water, or at least she likes getting treats in the water more than she minds getting wet. Simon, meanwhile, is behaving in a much more chimp-like manner. He's definitely interested in those seeds, but he's trying to work out the driest way to get them. Spurred on by Peggy's example, Tootie wades right in. It seems that Peggy's not the only one who doesn't mind getting wet. When Tootie lived next door in the nursery, she loved splashing around. And she still loves the water. Simon decides to take the plunge and risk getting a wet arm. Chimps aren't good at sharing, and he can see the fruit and seeds are disappearing fast. But it's just not for him. And now that there aren't that many seeds left in the pond, Tootie's decided that she doesn't love the water that much either. Peggy doesn't give up that easily. But even she's decided that it might be worth keeping one limb dry. It's been a good year for the woolly monkey breeding programme at the park, with 3 babies born to 3 mums. And this morning, there's been another rather unexpected addition to the troupe. Kuna has given birth to a baby boy, but staff were concerned for his welfare, as Kuna has failed to look after 2 of her previous offspring. So they've decided to step in and rear him by hand.
We've only just taken him from his mum, and we now need to make sure that he's fit and healthy. He's still got the umbilical cord. No, let go of that. He's pulling on his own cord. He's got his foot wrapped around the cord. That might hurt, little man. Don't, ouch. No, don't do that. That's why you're yelping. Let go of that. You can see the cord already. It's a bit of a nightmare. It's a very hard, stiff thing now that's left behind. It's, you know, sort of very tempting to consider sort of giving it a wee bit of help along the way, but really you're best off just to simply let it fall off naturally.
When he was born, the primate care staff waited anxiously to see if he would suckle from Kuna. But the signs weren't good.
I just don't know what it is with Kuna at this point. I'm really disappointed. First Julio, then Paolo came along. He's clearly not suckling. We have to take him too. I don't know what it is that Kuna does that means she's got babies that don't latch onto her nipples and feed, because clearly they're fit, healthy, and hungry. This little man's hungry now.
To begin with, it's important that the baby is rehydrated with water.
I know, he says, where's the real food? He's not terribly dehydrated at the moment, but he is a wee bit dehydrated because that skin peak, you know, when you pinch your own arm, it snaps back into place. His skin isn't snapping. It means that he's dehydrated. This is a really tricky time because he's yelling, he's a bit wriggly, and the biggest concern right now is just even 1 drop of this fluid. If he inhales it, it goes straight down into his lungs and he can get pneumonia. So we're being very, very cautious to make sure that this first feed goes in just drop by drop, and ideally when he's not yelling.
Because Kuna's other babies had to be hand-reared, the park gave her the contraceptive pill to give her a break from pregnancy. But just like with humans, sometimes the pill doesn't work.
We hadn't actually planned for her to give birth yet. It wasn't that I was intending for her never to get pregnant again, because with Paquita in that very same group, having just given birth and caring for her baby perfectly, we were hoping that Kuna had picked up a few tips and was actually going to be a better mum this time.
Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and the staff are always prepared to step in when there's a primate in need.
Everything changes at the park. You know, life sadly comes to an end now and again here, and then you get reminded very rapidly that new lives begin as well. And whether that's us going out and rescuing individuals and letting them start their life again here at the park as they should, or whether it's little guys that are born here and just need our help and attention to get started in life, to get the best start in life. That's what we're here for.
Monkey World's mission is that every individual matters, so whether the park welcomes newborns or rescued primates, they all have a home here for the rest of their lives.